Hello there comic book fans, and welcome to another Thursday review show with me, Ghost Critic. And this week I had quite a nice entertaining stack to read through. Unfortunately in the family there has always got to be a black sheep, and the black sheep this week, and please don't go and pick this up, Batman the Dark Knight issue 7. And I wonder how many of you that went to the comic book shop yesterday or today, looked at the cover, rolled their eyes and sighed. In the final battle with Bane. Oh, come on. This issue, yes, it's a huge fight with Bane and Batman. Is it the final one? No, of course it isn't. If it wasn't for the Court of Owls crossover that's going to happen, I think this would possibly have been my very last issue, and I would not have been picking it up anymore. Like I said, there's a big whole fight scene between Batman and Bane, and you have to admit that of all the Bat titles, this one, written by David Finch, this Batman has to be the lamest Batman characterisation of all the Bat titles. I'm sorry, but every issue he seems to be getting his ass whipped. I mean, Bane is throwing him from left to right, up, down. We've almost got another broken bat on our hands if it wasn't for a character that just quickly got there in time to save the day. The denouement of the whole fight is a bit of a letdown, to say the least. What else do we have in here? Please explain. Poison Ivy finally makes an appearance after being alluded to so many times in the past few issues. And she is trapped in this kind of huge tube which she can't get out of. I presume it's keeping her nourished and alive. But I don't understand how she got there, who put her there, and if Batman put her there or told her to go there, why is there not a way for her to get out of her own accord? If you've read the comic, you'll understand what I mean. There's a little kind of teaser, and it's probably the only thing that I'm maybe slightly interested. There is a connection between the White Rabbit that we've seen quite a lot of and this girl that Bruce keeps meaning to go on a date with. His new girlfriend. I'm not sure what kind of place she is right now with Bruce. And neither of them clearly know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So it's nothing to do with that. I wouldn't recommend picking this up. I'll read it for you to tell you it's bad. Alright? Uncanny XForce issue 23. A lovely cover. I love this cover. But inside is another story completely. The artwork is just horrendous. It truly is. It's like Ticini has given up. He threw a few sketches on a page, someone splashed a bit of paint on it. It looks terrible. It really does. Now, right at the beginning of this story arc, I was quite excited for the artwork. I thought it was obviously very different to what we previously had in the other story arcs that have gone before it. So, you know, I like things, changing it up a bit, making it a bit more interesting. But with every issue that has gone from the start of the story arc, this artwork has plummeted until the depths of this issue. Oh, it's hurtful to the eyes. That's all I can say. Which is such a shame because, and I think I'm the only one really, or there's very few of us. I actually love the storyline. People I've heard say they don't like the Uncanny XForce team being in this kind of otherworldly fantasy, demons, goat, disciple kind of environment. They don't think they fit. I think they can fit in any environment and are can look just as home in this as anywhere else. So yeah, the storyline for me has been very exciting. There's battles aplenty going on in this issue, and obviously them all coming together to fight the big bad at the end. And the big bad turns out to be someone much closer to home than they thought. And Betsy gets a bit stabby again. Yeah, she stabbed Warren. Now she's going to stab someone else very close to her. At least she does, in a way. I'm not going to spoil the ending for this for you. I'm not going to spoil who the big honcho behind everything is. Go read it, if only for the story. I'm sorry about the art. Well, it's not my fault, but the artwork is pretty horrendous. But the storyline was really good, and the end of this, interesting. Now let's move on a bit to some good stuff. I don't think it comes much better, much different, much more exciting and fun to read than The Bulletproof Coffin, issue 3 of 6, Disinterred. This is such a kind of day-glow kitsch homage ride, and Hine and Kane are doing another awesome job on this mini-series. Okay, we've had the cop story, we've had the kind of homage to the horror comics of the 60s and 70s. Here we're deeply immersed in kind of the sci-fi territory with a bit of kind of Cold War-esqueness about it too. We've got the Unforgiving Eye here on the cover, teaming up with Coffin Fly to take down a monster made up of American landmarks that have been stolen from the American landscape and taken to the surface of the moon. It's completely trippy, psychedelic nonsense, but it's fun. The artwork by Shaky Kane is just so appealing, and he has finally threw in for us a few big 2-page splashes like that. We can all see that. There's some such nice touches in here, and basically kind of stealing other ideas. I think we both know what, I hope you can see there, what the Unforgiving Eye is saying and what it really is alluding to. The interesting thing about this issue, because obviously it's not a straight sci-fi story, there's always a twist where David Hine's concerned. And in between the storyline of The Unforgiving Eye and Coffin Fly going into space, we have a child. And the child is playing with toys of The Unforgiving Eye and Coffin Fly in a sandpit. And he's almost the narrator of this story. So the kind of reality and fantasy are kind of overlapping. Which is real? Is the story that we're seeing just in the imagination of the child and we're seeing it as a comic book? Or is it the other way round? The end certainly gives you an answer to that. They also pick up on some characters from the last mini-series. So Ramona, Queen of the Stone Age, makes a little cameo in there, which was fun to have. And the way she is brought into the storyline, again, is quite fun, quite perverse in a way. Just go pick this up. It's fun, it's bright, it's day glow, it's exciting. I love it. Morning Glories, issue 17. And you know what? I really should be frustrated with this book. We have yet another backstory of one of the characters. When you thought they were all done and dusted, we must know everything about these main characters by now. Oh, no. Nick Spencer now gives us the backstory and the history of Jade. How she has come to where she is now within the school. Now, the interesting bit for me was, I mean, yes, we've had the whole backstory now. We know that her mother died in a car crash that she was part of, and she had difficulty coping with the fact that her mother isn't there anymore. But the interesting thing that I found for this is Nick Spencer has her talking to someone who is her complete opposite, and that is, of course, Ike. Ike, the self-centered, arrogant, I'm only after myself character, while Jade trusts everyone, likes everyone, wants everyone to get on. And the relationship that these two have throughout the comic is very interesting and very intriguing. And it right to the very end where they have a moment, it's not that kind of moment. Nick Spencer is just adding layer upon layer to this mystery, Lost-esque storyline. Yes, we would love it to move on a bit. We want some answers to all these questions. But I am quite happy to continue on, because Nick Spencer has just written this wonderful story that is just sucking me in and making me just want more and more. How does he do it? Definitely go and pick this up. From Marvel, issue 10, and it's Daredevil, and that cover. Definitely a contender for cover of the year, and if that does so happen, that will be 3 years in a run for me and Daredevil, if anyone's watched my end of year review before. But this, again, just another fantastic issue of Daredevil. It's taking off with what happened at the end of the last issue, where Matt, Daredevil, is falling into this huge kind of creature's mouth and his escape from that, and in turn from that a fight with Mole Man. And you look at Mole Man and you think, he's a fat, short dude who can't see very well. How is this going to be a fair fight? Well, as Daredevil, Matt himself explains, you should never underestimate anybody. He's very nimble on his feet, I have to say. So, yes, we find out why he was digging up all these graves, who he has found, why he has found them, and what he wants to do with them now. It's that tragic love story. You know, it's a villain, but you kind of feel sorry for him. But obviously the way they've gone about what they've done, it's a bit wrong. It's a bit wrong. On the back burner on this story, well, not so much on the back burner, because I think it was a very nice touch at the end. We have a letter left for Matt from the Black Cat. And there's a disc still left in a safe. Very, very nicely done. Mark Waid writing this so well. The Rivera brothers, fantastic artwork inside, and that cover, I looked at this, rolled my eyes. I looked at this and just went, wow, beautiful. Moving along, penultimate comic, issue 7 of Justice League Dark, and wowzers as this moved on a bit. Justice League Dark has been kind of coasting for me over the last couple of issues. Still been enjoying it, hoping for that issue that just went bam in my face. And you know what? This is the comic. If it wasn't for a certain one that's still left to review, this would have been my pick of the week. Peter Milligan has really taken a big stride forward. And you know what? Even that this is a kind of tie-in with iVampire, this works on its own. I was totally on board with what was going on at the beginning. I understood. I didn't feel left out of anything. And you know what? For this very dysfunctional team that don't particularly like each other, they work so well together. Justice League America, whatever you want to call them, terrible team, don't work together at all, but they are seen as super great, smashing, brilliant. All the public like them, but they have no teamwork at all. Look at this. They're doing all right. well, they can't do any worse, let's put it that way. But there is certainly a much more cohesive team building-esque kind of ambiance. Let's use the word ambiance. We don't use the word ambiance enough. So, what happens? They all get transported into Gotham, which apparently is overrun with vampires. You get a little cameo from Batgirl. Xanadu, there's some Madame Xanadu, interesting dialogue, kind of inner monologue going on with her, and the fact that, you know, one of her primary motives is she has to keep this team together because they are too dangerous singularly. Very interesting, and something that, you know, Peter Milligan might be looking to for the future. Though I believe, is it Jeff Lemire? He's taking over very soon on this issue, so hopefully he will pick up all that. Yes, lots of vampires. The Shade's coat's not working very well. It's transporting them all over the place. And the artwork inside, I was not ready for this. And I'm not usually a huge fan of this kind of painted photorealistic style. Not usually my cup of tea, but I started it and it just sucks you in. Very, very nice. The dark humour is still there with obviously John Constantine. He just doesn't want, he really doesn't want to be on this team, but for one reason or another, he just can't get out. He just can't get out. A great, great issue. I am so impressed. Pick of the week though, and came out of nowhere, to be fair. As much as I love this comic and I big it up every week, but it's the Unwritten, issue 35.5. Now, for anyone who has been reading this comic, or anyone who hasn't, last issue we had the huge end of film, blockbuster fight scene. People died. You wanted to see repercussions. You thought you were going to get it in this issue. But no. We go right back to the start, which just blew my mind. Seriously. Now, anyone who's been reading this, and again, if you haven't, I will quickly explain. There's a room called the Grid. In the Grid is just banks and banks of seats and tables where people just read. They just read. And it's the power of the reading of these books that creates the magic, warps realities, etc. But this is in the hands of the Dark Cabal, the organisation that was kind of hiring Pullman to kill Tommy. And this book centres around one individual within the Grid. And that's this young man, not actually on the front, because I think that is meant to be Tommy. But the clever thing that Carey did on this was he took bits of each kind of story arc that has gone before and showed a different side of it. So right at the beginning you have this one guy from the Grid who is taken by like a supervisor, team leader kind of person to that first Tommy-Con that we saw right at the beginning, this big comic convention, but it was all about Tommy Taylor from the books. And he is sat behind the girl, I can't remember her name now, but he's basically sat behind the girl when she asks Tommy the question, "Are you real?" But he's fast asleep, and he misses everything, all the drama. And then there's a bit further on where they allude to the time when they do the Dickens, and this guy is there in the wings watching the big fight scene that we saw at the end. He is definitely being made up to be a new major player in the Unwritten storyline. I was very worried. I was thinking, where the hell is this comic going to go to now? Are we looking at the end of a series? What has Mike Carey got to pull out of the hat now? And he pulled out a corker. I love this comic. There's just so much about it that appeals to me. I mean, if you're a fan of Vertigo titles, this is certainly should be right on the top of your list, even after Hellblazer, even before Hellblazer, I should say. The artwork is different. We have, I've got to read this because it's a bit of a mouthful, Gabriel Hernandez Walter. Yes, he is doing the artwork. It's very different from before. Let's see if I can find. This is the grid I was telling you about, the big banks of desks that he goes to work at. Let's see if I can find a kind of a big splashy page. I mean, even the whale. Even the whale gets a look in, and how the whale is connected to this employee as well. It was just a fantastic read, and just was not what I was expecting at all when I picked up this. I was expecting to have an issue showing the repercussions of what just happened in issue 35, but Mike Carey, I hold my hands up to you. You have fooled this guy, and it's just been fantastic. A great issue. Go pick it up. And with that, I have to say goodbye. It's 21 minutes. Sorry, it's another long one. If you're new here, go subscribe. There's a button up there. I can say this, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to. You can thumb this video up if you liked it. I love the thumbs up, thumb it up, and put a comment down on the box below as well, telling me what you picked up. Did you like the comics I picked up? Did you pick up any of them? Isn't Dark Knight an absolute sucker of an issue now? Are you looking forward to the Court of Owls crossover that's coming next month? With that, I bid you adieu. Good night, good evening, good afternoon, good morning.